So thinking about the autumn, let's focus on curiosity-driven learning, what students do for themselves, by themselves. And what I want to focus on here is what's the difference between curating what you gather and creating what you produce for them. As I've socialized these ideas and talked to academics, I've realized a lot of people say, yes, Terry, we're doing all of this stuff, and they claim to be really changing. But what they're really doing is describing what they've always done in slightly different terms, and the movement has been marginal. So let's go back to our learning framework, and we're talking about assimilative learning, discursive learning, and stretching assessment. And people say, yes, we're doing that, but you're not doing it in that order. A lot of people, like Morecambe's piano playing, are doing the right things, but not necessarily in this order. And what I'm suggesting is that for this crisis, you get a lot of assimilative learning done early on. So in practical terms, what's the difference between producing my own material or using what's already out there? In terms of communication, there's not much I can say, no matter how brilliant I am, that isn't out there in a better form somewhere, in a more creative form somewhere. In terms of my time, lecturing is no longer the simple matter of grabbing some notes and running to a theatre. It's a much more complicated process. And by curating good stuff that's out there, I can actually spend time now that pays directly into the students' lives at the start of term. In terms of curiosity, when I deliver a lecture, the students are limited by what I find exciting, whereas if I can start them off on a journey of finding really exciting stuff and following their noses, they can open up a whole new world of learning. Demonstrations have always been hard, and lectures have tended to patch in stuff from videos and other sources, so why not point students directly to that material right away? In terms of the duration of material, bite-sized is hard for most lecturers, hard for me, and it's probably hard for you. Whereas there are lots of options from sort of 2 or 3 minute blocks up to sort of 45-minute, hour-long sessions at different levels of complexity. Finally, access for you and your students. Your institutional repositories may struggle with some of the mixed formats, whereas everything works at the click of a mouse in that world. You might be a little bit worried about the fact that there are elements of the course that you think have to be taught in a very specific way. I remember when I was a student, there was a scattering equation in crystallography that 3 different lecturers felt they each had to teach us because they felt they had a special angle on it. And the truth was we never understood it from any of them, and we just had to learn it to get through. And so what they obviously prized, we simply took a very utilitarian approach to. And those gems that you think you're going to scatter in front of your students may not be quite what they think they are. Perhaps you say, well, actually, I can prepare stuff faster than I can surf, and that might have been true. The truth is, looking forward, you're going to have to be able to surf much faster than anything else. And what's more, surfing is a lot more fun than preparation. Will students still come if I'm only putting up other people's material? That's a really good question, and we haven't got time for that here. But the question is, are they going to come if you can't put up anything that's as good as what they can get at the click of a mouse? My students want to hear me lecture, and I will bet they are not that keen. I bet they really don't mind that much if they get the material in some other way. Got too much to do already? I think you have, and you're going to have a whole lot more to do in the autumn. Better get some of this stuff put to bed and ready for the students to pick up and run with while you get your feet under the table at the start of term. Where do I find all this stuff? So reading has always been available, books have been available, but they're now available in ebook or PDF formats, and that does make a big difference to how students can engage with them, particularly in terms of searching and excerpting information from them. Memory work, I think memory is really important. I think we've underplayed it for 2 or 3 decades now, and most subjects will benefit from some form of really good memory underpinning. Great TED talk there by Josh Foer that really opened my eyes to what students can do, what anybody can do, feats of memory anyone can do. Don't be afraid to use memory stuff. Don't be afraid to use other people's notes to get students to compare what other lecturers are putting up. And there's a wealth of material that can be viewed or listened to online. So, find out more, get in touch with me. I'm happy to call, I'm happy to Skype, I'm happy to Zoom, but let me know what you'd like. If you're interested in this at all, let me know, and I'd like to develop more material in a better way.